Victoria, since about the mid-1980s, there has been a requirement in the law that when police can't get a parent or a guardian to come and support a young person who they want to interview, that the police have to get an independent person.
It wasn't an easy child, that's for sure. I ran away from home a lot, hung out with the wrong crowd. I mean, I found myself at a police station a few times. But YRIPP wasn't around then, and they didn't have IPs. I think they just called police officers' wives, or they had someone that was a youth worker, or someone that would just come in.
Those young people that need an IP are the most vulnerable of this vulnerable group that have come into contact with the justice system, because they don't have a parent or guardian who's available to come and support them at that point.
Without YRIPP, there wasn't a great system for who that independent person should be, and there was no clear agreement about what that person should do when they get there.
So in the past, before YRIPP was in the partnership with YRIPP and Victoria Police, we utilised the services of local communities such as your local pharmacist or post office worker.
It wasn't uncommon for independent persons to say, for instance, to a young person, "Oh, just tell the nice police officer what you've done and it'll all be okay."
Some of the young people that I talk to, tell me about how they sussed up to something that they hadn't done just to get out of a police station. And I imagine that happened a lot in the old days, yeah.
What was coming from the courts was some suggestion that where refugee young people were ending up in the court system, that often they hadn't understood the process that had landed them there in the first place.
Like all sectors, this is a highly political sector, and historically before YRIPP, it was very difficult to get Victoria Police, the legal centres, Victoria Aboriginal Legal Service and organisations like us in the same room agreeing. We knew that we could not develop a model that placed trained IPs into police stations unless VicPol were around the table.
I think the biggest challenge was what ultimately was our biggest strength as well, which was the diversity of the partnership.
We also knew that these young people needed appropriate legal advice, so we needed the legal centres there, and we also know that we needed Aboriginal Legal Service there as well, because there were particular issues around Aboriginal young people.
The vast majority of non-Aboriginal Australians will openly admit that they either don't know an Aboriginal person, they've never learnt anything about Aboriginal people, either at school or within their communities. And so if you're going to work with this segment of society, and if you want to be able to do your job to the best of your abilities, then it's critical to have an understanding of the client group for which you're supposedly providing support to.
Before YRIPP, volunteers didn't receive any training in the local services that were available to young people, and there was certainly no system of referral. So YRIPP was actually funded as a crime prevention initiative to try and divert kids away from the justice system and into support services that could help them sort out the reasons why they're in the police station in the first place.
The most important thing I see is the referral system that is introduced, where we have the opportunity to talk to young people about how we might be able to assist them through YRIPP in referring to other agencies.
It was a 16-year-old boy, and he come from a broken home. He lived with his dad. I probably spoke to him for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes after the interview, and gave him referrals for housing and careers. I left school when I was 14, and I'm a paralegal now, so I worked really hard to do it, and I did it all on my own. So I just told him that, if you wanted to be something like that, you could be. He was really excited after my little pep talk, and he just agreed with me. He was like, "Yes, you're right, you're so right, I can do this." And I said, "Yes, you can."
when you're in this really vulnerable position, when you're in a time in your life when you really need somebody to be there with you, we're providing that person. But we're providing a person that's trained. We're providing a person that knows their role and knows what they can and can't do. And we're providing a person who is fundamentally there in place of a parent or guardian.
And so it's really important that somebody is there gently reminding everybody in the room that this is a young person who has rights and who may be frightened, who may have concerns, who might have a background of trauma, so that needs to be respected and acknowledged. So a YRIPP volunteer can remind everybody in the room of those circumstances. And before YRIPP came along, let me tell you that wasn't happening.
I think a group like YRIPP is critical to the whole process because it offers a critical friend, if you like.
What they do is offer us a professional person who is highly trained and also understands the judicial process, respecting both the human rights of a young person and the police process that's required at the time.
It would be really good if we could convince other states or national bodies that a system like YRIPP should exist in other states. Well, I'd like to say that young people deserve YRIPP because they need to feel the generosity that does exist in the community, because very often young people go through life without feeling that generosity, but it's there, it really is there.